I am not those people who sit pretty when things need to be done.
Yeah.
I'm a very intentional person. And I'm a go-getter. Funny thing, like it just came to my mind. I usually have some moments in my life where I tear apart my life completely. Like,
Yeah.
and at those moments, even very meaningful friends to me, I could just drop them there and then. You need to have a good strategy from the word go, even before you start the case. Your lawyer walking, the journey with you.
Yeah.
For me, I really believe my clients are a critical partner in my winning, whether I can win a case or not. Because it is happening to them. They could be the ones who would tell me, I did it. And it's better if a client tells you that, because then you can now focus on how you can protect them.
So
We
good.
have a lawyer here.
Yeah, we have a lawyer in class.
Nice. I love that.
So yeah, professionally, it started in 2019, thereabout. Yeah. 2018, actually 2018, 2019, that's when I was in college.
Wow.
Yeah. Nikitambo.
Yes.
Wow.
Nikitambo, like, I love that.
Nikitambo, okay, Kitambo could mean so many things, yeah.
Kitambo in the sense that, like you're talking about this setup, this...
No.
okay, your interest.
No. 2018 up until now, I lost my trail of thought.
So you were telling me that you started off in 2019.
Yeah, in terms of education.
Yes,
started
and
off
you're good at media law, and that is when the...
the thing did its thing.
Yes.
Yeah. But here we started in 2020. This whole thing we started actually last year, April.
Nice.
Yeah. So we're barely a year old, just as yet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Celsa is also... We registered in 2021, but our base year is last year, so we're also, I would say, a year old.
Yeah.
Yes.
So your best year was 2023.
Yes, the base year.
Yeah.
Yes.
But by base you mean?
By base, I mean that is when we really picked up on activities and our core functions.
Yeah.
Initially, I wasn't so serious about that because I was focused on my law practice. And I don't know, I just hadn't come to myself like, this is where we're going, why we're doing this. But officially, that light bulb came in October 22.
Yeah.
Where I just decided to go and visit death row inmates. And I was like, no, this can't go on like this. So that's when I became more serious about that.
Yeah.
The encounters that I had during that visit.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been watching so many trends on TikTok and people who are going into the third floor. That to be specific, 30 years of age.
Yeah.
There might be somebody who's watching and they do not know what third floor is all about, and they're saying, "I am 30, and I feel that I do not have, or I do not want to stay looking for my purpose. Yeah, I think right now I am at a time where I only need to do what I have to do so that I can survive." What would you make of that sentiment?
That you haven't found yourself.
Yeah, when you are 30 and you haven't found yourself, and you're like, well, now it's time to leave. I no longer want to sort of rigorously find my purpose, but just deal with what I have on my plate.
I think most times you'll never feel that you're living until you get into your true purpose.
Yeah.
But how to get into that true purpose, I think that's the journey, because you need to just be alive and discerning.
Yeah.
To know exactly, like, I'm not to get so biblical.
It's okay.
But the Bible says that, and don't think that I'm too spiritual, but the Bible says that time and chance happens to everyone.
Yeah.
It's very deep because it's true. Like
I think it's in I might.
it's Proverbs.
It's Proverbs.
Ecclesiastes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Time and chance happens to all, and that the race doesn't always go to the fast,
Not the swift,
or the
nor
swift.
the talented.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you just need to be discerning and to know that perfect moment
Yeah.
when you need to just start running after what you're meant to do, because it's always there. You always know, like, it's just there. You've always had that passion that this is where I need to go, this is what I need to do, but just the timing of it all, like, and mostly it's not often about not being able to do it. It's often about, I don't have the resources, I don't have the key people, which also goes back to resources.
Yeah.
So basically, if we get out of our head in terms of resources, then we become more able to achieve the vision and whatever it is in our hearts to be able to do, to change our society. So we need to get out of that aspect of, I will start doing it if I get this amount
At
of
30
money.
or at 50.
Yeah. Actually, it's not really about age. It's more about resources. But now the age thing catches up, because as you keep on waiting.
Yeah. As you keep on growing. You know, you cannot you cannot run a kiosk if because, and I would think, or to sort of understand why somebody who is in their 30s or their 40s will feel that I only need to do what I have to do right now rather than go things after my passion. Because when you're 30, probably you have a family, you're thinking about growing a family, and when you think about things that are going to be you're going to be passionate about, Vusi always says, or Vusi Thembekwai always says, passion does not put money into your pocket, but you find yourself at a time where you really need money so that you can your life can you propel your life onto the next level. So does that mean that change makers are only supposed to be young lads? They are not really supposed to be way up in grown in their lives? Or even sometimes there is a doctor at the Aga Khan hospital who advised me, Alan, you can never pour from an empty cup. There are those who might also decide to get the money first so that now they can come back and give to society, or go start doing their passion projects. And I say this because I want to take you back to 2022, sorry, when the light bulb moment came to you. Give us a before and an after the light bulb moment.
Okay, so so March 21 is when we officially had SELSA registration certificate.
Yeah.
But then I was pregnant. And I'm those mothers who put everything on hold to become a mom. So, and that's what I did. And when I got back into work mode, I had just started my law firm. This was a second law firm. The first one had an issue in terms of, it was a partnership, and I couldn't trust my partner. I asked him to just split up, and
everybody goes their own
because
ways.
I believe that I'm very passionate. I'm very passionate, and I believe whatever I start, it has to grow. And I can't grow something not trusting my partner. So I just made that swift decision to walk out of that situation. So the next time I got into that level where I could, because I was a government employee then, so I was quite comfortable in terms of like the monthly paychecks and what have you.
You're sure it's coming in?
Yes, I'm sure that it's coming in.
Even if Kenyans don't pay taxes.
Even if I don't go to work, it's still coming in. So, I mean, that's the mentality that most government officers have. So, I decided to start a second outfit in 2022, January. So I put, I think, 100% of my effort there. And now in October, we went for that visit at Eldoret main prison, the men's section. And all we wanted was to see death row inmates, because in October we celebrate the World Day Against the Death Penalty.
Yeah.
And I am against the death penalty. So I just wanted to have an interaction with them. Basically, not even as Celsa, it was more as a lawyer.
Yeah.
To know whether there's anything I could do about it, about their situation and what they're going through. What I found out was that a lot of our crimes in Kenya, we have criminalized poverty. And the people who are on the death row are not your hardcore criminals. These are just victims of, I would call them victims of circumstances, because in fact, can I give you an instance?
Yeah.
There's this guy, let's call him RW because I can't reveal his name. He's still, so this guy, he was a tea plucker in Nandi Hills.
Yeah.
And after that, a day's work, he went to his employer to ask, because they live on a daily,
hand
pay.
to mouth.
Yes. So he went for his pay for that day. And the employer, she abused him and hit him, and it was just terrible.
Yeah.
And he knows this is my employer, and I can't beat her because I need my job the following day. So he pushed her off and he ran off. So next thing he knows is that he's being arrested. What are the charges? Robbery with violence.
Wow.
Yeah. So, so now he doesn't even know what that is. And when he was spoken to by the state, the prosecution, and this lady, they tell him, okay, just go accept the charge. Say you did it, and then we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. And that's what he did. He accepted the charge. On his own plea of guilt, he became sentenced to the death row. He was 1 day old at death row. I had to explain to him what death row meant. I had to explain to him that robbery with violence is a capital offense. He was just lost. He was completely dazed about the whole situation. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I've never seen a more lost soul in my entire life.
Yeah.
And I think, so that really roused me. And I realized that he wasn't the only person. There were people from Lodwar. There were people from West Pokot.
Yeah.
And these are guys who actually haven't had an education. So that means that even knowing what that charge is, even understanding what the death penalty, just the sentence itself, they need to be explained. And in fact, most of these people in prison is where they get an education. So that sparked CELSA to start, the Center for Legal Support and Inmate Rehabilitation.
Yeah.
It was there in registration, but I think I needed that backstory to be able to just propel me, because and maybe you will ask me why did you come up with CELSA? So so I went to an fellowship in the US, Cornell University, and it was about capital defense. It was a capacity building program for practicing criminal lawyers who do majorly crime, or rather crime-related defenses. So that was the program that I went to, and it was, we were many lawyers from Africa, Malawi, Nigeria, Kenya, Tanzania, like the whole of Africa. And when we went there, of course, I met a lot of people that we see eye to eye on a lot of things. And one of the people that I met there was Joke Aladesami. She's a Nigerian.
Yeah.
And we started CELSA together. So there's a CELSA in Nigeria as much as there's one in Kenya.
Yeah.
but hers is older because she began it
Immediately after the trip.
immediately after the trip, and
Yeah.
then I trailed after her. Yeah, so basically that's why we started Celsa,
Yeah.
to be able to provide support for inmates, all right, and not just the legal aspect. We were like, okay, so we help a lot of people to get out of people in conflict with the law, to get out of their predicament. But then there's a lot of reoffending. These people end up going back into the system. So what can we do? So that inmate rehabilitation aspect became very important for us. But then I got derailed by the mothering process and all that. And I thank the heavens because it got sparked again at that prison visit in Eldoret.
Interesting, and that is very good a background and best you sort of lay for this particular conversation. And before I forget, this is almost forgot the name. This is Dreams in Motion, and here we always say if you've already made $1 million, probably this is not a conversation for you. But if you are on your way of making your first $1 million, probably this might be the conversation that you might be waiting to listen to. Before you paint a picture for us how it was like growing up, and if anybody asked you that you would end up doing what you're doing right now, if it would be yes would be your answer, who are we speaking to this beautiful day?
Okay, so my name is Anne Munyo. My maiden name is Hash Hash. Yes.
Why Hash Hash?
It's just one of those names, like if you call me by that name, I turn guaranteed, because I know you know me.
Yeah, Hash Hash. You know, you've remembered, and given that we're talking about law, you reminded me this guy Hash Puppy.
Yeah.
You heard about his story?
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So looking back, did you envisage to end up where you are right now?
As a lawyer or as
First as a lawyer,
Okay.
but also for a lawyer who now would be extending their expertise to help those who are, you would say, in distress.
Okay, so when I was young, I wanted to be a lawyer. And then I grew up, and then I saw my dad, and I wanted to be a doctor. You know,
So you come from a career family.
Yeah, quite. So, and then I think things happened that still led me back into the law, because first my parents separated some time back.
Yeah.
And then my mom, we had to live with my mom for a while. And during that period, my grandpa, my mother's father, was murdered brutally. And we never got justice for that. It just went, we know who did it, but it just went like that. And then later on, we got, a lot of things just happened, and then you find that every other time you just find yourself defending. Like I would always be the one defending my mom when my dad would, make accusations and here and there. I would always defend my dad when my mom would make.
You were always up in arms.
I was always like, even my sister, my brother, they would always come and tell me, go and tell mom ABCD, go and tell dad.
Hash hash, go and tell so and so.
Yes, so and I am very good at that. I am very good at advocating for people's rights, and also when I believe in something, I just do it. There's nothing that can stop me. Like, so long as I trust that I'm doing the right thing, I will do it. It doesn't matter what roadblocks are ahead. Yes. So that led me into the law, and here I am, happy.
Yes.
I think I would be a very sad doctor. I would be sad. I don't like wounds. I really do not like wounds. I'd rather deal with a dead person,
Yeah.
but not a living, beating, a person with a beating heart who's hurting. I
Yeah.
don't like that. So I think I thank God that I got, those, I think they are just emotions, emotional decisions that you
Yeah.
make, like, my dad is this, so I will be this. So I am grateful that I didn't end up there.
So, did you really want? Because you've given us background that this is something that was in you, and you defended literally everybody who you felt had the right to be defended. But we oftenly want to do things because of probably some of the things that we've heard about them. And lawyers, there is this sort of flamboyant side to being a lawyer, and also the money that would come with it. Are these some of the things that also sort of pushed you to be in this particular field, or you had a particular reason why you decided to go into this field? Though I am also cognizant that you mentioned that your grandfather on the side of your mom lost their lives brutally, and justice was never served. This would be one of the reasons, but are there others that also contributed to this?
That's a good question. Are there other things other than I love the law?
Yeah.
And whether money is, I think I would still make money whatever career I love money. I think I would still make money whatever
Career path you chose.
Yes. I don't believe that I would be able to get in a plane. I am not those people who sit pretty when things need to be done.
Yeah.
I am I'm a very intentional person, and I'm a go-getter, and I'm very practical as well. So when I need to live within my means, I do. And then also I have this extravagant side of me that you just mentioned. Yeah, so there's that as well. So I think I have had to balance both, because growing up, my parents were very, very well off.
Yeah.
Extremely well off. And then after the split,
Things
went down.
Yeah.
Nosedive kind of down. So I know how to abase and abound, so to speak. And I think I love the fact that happened to me, because I can be able to be very comfortable when I don't have anything, and very comfortable when I have everything. So, like, my lifestyle never changes. It's usually quite, I'm a quite well balanced person,
Yeah.
despite the finances that I have. And it has taught me not to really focus on the bank account, but to focus on the game plan, on the strategies, and on getting, like, I do my year resolutions. I even do graphs. I go through. It's crazy. I know. I look
What exactly is on these graphs now?
mostly my spending. My spending.
Yeah.
When I have that visual,
Representation.
yes,
Yeah.
it makes me wonder. So now, like, why that spike? I have to look at the bank slips, for example. And if I didn't have a reason, then one of the outcome would be, like, at every bank slip, I have to write at the back
Yeah.
what the reason was for that withdrawal. So it has really taught me, and I have become more of a parent, even to my parents, to my siblings, because I have gained a lot of knowledge through experience. Not something I really called out for, but
Yeah.
it just came to me, and I'm glad. I really am. I'm not bitter at all about it, and yeah, I'm happy that I can be able to balance myself out and not get lost in wearing the expensive suits, and driving the nice cars, and
Yeah.
forgetting who I am and where I'm from, and also lending out a hand to those who are in need. also this social entrepreneur thing, you know, it's giving back. It's giving as much as there's something you get back, but you do more of giving than receiving. If you look at it keenly. So I think social entrepreneurs, if you're not after giving, you won't be very successful. But the more you give, the more you get. Because even donors, they really want someone who will put their resources into the real work.
Where their mouth is at.
Yes.
Not do your own things.
You will do your own things, and they want you to do your own things.
Yeah.
But they also want you to do what you say you will do. So, I mean, it's just, I think, an issue of integrity.
Yeah. Take us back to, I often asked a question along the lines of the first day in school doing what you're really passionate about, but seems you are very intentional, but that even before you went to do the learning, you already sort of had a bit of experience from home. But take us to a day when the degree has finally been conferred to you. What next for Anne?
I think I was lost. It's crazy because then I was a serious coder. I was into, I really had started to do a lot of coding in terms of web design and just application development. And so when I got the degree, of course, I went to Kenya School of Law. And immediately after the School of Law, I was now properly into the coding stuff. And I wasn't keen on even being sworn in. Until like my classmates got sworn in, and I was like, okay, I can't have gone through 6 years just for nothing.
Just to let this
let me just go and apply for being sworn into the bar, which I did. And it was hard finding my way back into the law because now when you start getting money, and it's good money, and you're also finding some level of satisfaction because coding is also a way of solving people's problems. Someone tells you, I am facing this problem with my employees. I want you to assist me to, ensure that my stock doesn't vamoose or get lost. So you kind of sort of assist them, and you feel very satisfied.
Yeah.
So, and the money. So
that's a key factor.
Yes, that was a key factor. And what you can sell at 5,000, you can sell at 2 million to another client. It was
quite interesting.
Yes. So I really had to fight my way back to the law. And when I got sworn in, I had to humble myself because the pupillage aspect, you actually are paid peanuts to be a pupil, learning the art of being an advocate. You're paid peanuts. So it was a very humbling experience. I told you I take care of my siblings. So you need to make money to make your sister's hair, to take them to school and all that.
I've seen the prayers that people say, God should bless my elder sister so that woman does never run out of money.
Yes, so that woman is me.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got sworn in, and also still a humbling position because still the money was not as much as, but I was like, let me just stick to this. There's something about this that I love, which is I am passionate about finding out new things. And the thing about the law is that every file, even if it is in the same field, there's something different, something that makes you think, this I have to go deeper. I have to find out like exactly how I'm going to assist this person. So the challenge for me was more enticing than the money on the other side. Yes. And then I got into the job, the government job.
Yeah.
So so that quite cemented my career, I think, because it grounded me for a while. You know, that 8 to 5 job, it grounds you because you have to keep on doing something every
Yeah.
other day. So I found myself loving it every day until I got out and started this
Started
other.
running on the streets.
Yes.
Now, this goes out to every suits lover. If they wanted to be, if anybody wanted to be a lawyer, they would either want to be a Micros or a Harvey Specter. And I bring in these figures because my next question would be, in your own view, what makes a good lawyer? And I have a follow up to that. I just need to prepare you for that. But in your own view, what makes a good lawyer? Because we were talking before we started the show, and you say that most lawyers are more about the winning rather than doing the good work to actually serve their clients.
I think I don't like suits at all.
What?
I really don't.
You're breaking my heart.
I'm sorry. I spent 6 to 7 years learning, and it's tough work becoming a lawyer. And here comes Ross with his brilliant mind. I do not. I mean,
By
he's
the way,
brilliant.
real lawyers do not like.
Mike.
A few lawyers like Mike.
I don't like Mike at all. I think, the law is serious stuff because you have someone's life in your hands. So if you have a quack handling your work.
Wow. Quack is quite a heavy word,
It is. It's unfortunate because even that win means nothing.
Yeah.
If someone could come and question
overturn
it later.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I don't like both Harvey and Mike. But
Harvey as well?
Harvey doesn't practice law. He does more of negotiation. And I love that he's a good negotiator.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love that about him. I'm forgetting the lawyer that I really like is the one who causes nuisance. I'm forgetting his name.
Why am I forgetting his name as well?
You know,
he was at the center of the show.
He's not, but he's the lawyer. He does the court work. He's really interested in the law, in propelling it, in research, and that's why he pushes the students.
Yeah.
You can think that he's very vindictive, but he's more of a lawyer.
Yeah.
And that's not the kind of lawyer I am, but I really identify with that part of him.
Yeah.
That he's proud to be a Harvard Law student. And he really, like, at the core of who he is, he's interested in the fidelity and in the integrity of the law. And any client, Louis.
Yeah.
And any client of Louis is a lucky client because he fights for them. So I think I'm more inclined to Louis
than Harvey and his protege.
Mike, and their boss. I think in terms of a good legal drama series, I loved The Good Wife. It had a lot of court work.
How to Get Away with Murder?
I didn't like that. It is when you engineer murders for every season, then life is sacred, and even though I defend murderers, life is sacred. So I don't quite appreciate movies that recreate and propagate murders in every series, unless it's an investigative series.
Yeah.
But in this one, they were propagating, recreating murders.
Creating a problem after problem.
Yeah,
so that
for
they can
every.
solve them. Yeah.
Yes. I think if I were the producer, I would have gone about it a different way. Yes. Or have made it a good, investigative series.
Yeah.
So that there is a murder in every series, but not a murder in every season. So that, I don't know. Maybe that's me.
So with all this coupled together, to you, what would make a good lawyer then?
A good lawyer is someone, because law is about reading. If you don't like to read, then you
Forget
can't.
about the law.
Yeah, you can't be a good lawyer. So law is about, and that's why it's called Bachelor of Laws, Master of Laws.
Yeah.
You have to read, because there's more than one law. There's media law, there's fashion law,
Yeah.
there's competition law, there's intellectual property laws, and criminal, civil.
Yeah.
So you need to read, and there's no lawyer who can't do, a lawyer who loves to read who can't do another practice in the law. Because if you love to read and if you like the challenge, then you can be able to become a good lawyer. So that's one aspect. The
Yeah.
other thing is to prepare. Every case, as I said, every file is different. It has different players. It has different aspects. There are cases where you never get involved emotionally at all. And there are cases which drain you completely because of the intricate details and the players. Maybe there's a child involved, or a very, vulnerable person. So prepare for your work. You can't go to court and go off the road system that I have been doing this, Your Honor, may it please you. Is Anne Munyo, I represent the defendant.
Yeah.
This case is about, no, you have to go and learn about what this case is about.
It's all about, yeah.
Yes. And there's a case I was dealing with in Celsa.
Yeah.
It just reminded me about preparation. Actually, no, let me tell you something I dealt with in my practice. It's just a simple accident claim. And from how things unfolded, I could tell this is a fake claim. This guy was not in that accident. And then the mistake I did, I asked him what injuries he got. And this guy had injuries. But he was not in the accident. So you need to prepare. Because and I'm not saying I didn't, I'm just saying that part of preparation is knowing the core precepts of the law, which is, one of them is a rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Do not ask questions whose answers you don't know.
So if I don't know the answers to that particular question, I do not ask those questions.
If you're a lawyer, yes, don't ask it. Because let me tell you, your witness will surprise you. They will answer. That's why.
And they will catch you on the wrong foot.
Well, if you have a good case and you're a good lawyer, you can be able to get away with that. But what if it's a criminal case? And this is the one thing that there was doubt about it. And then this guy completely
goes out of it.
Yes, completely hits the nail on that final nail. So I think, so that's a rule of thumb is, as a lawyer, do not ask questions you do not know. There are witnesses, you ask open-ended questions.
Yeah.
Let them answer. Don't interrupt. Only interrupt if you want them to clarify. But the witnesses, you ask one after one question, like, what color of tie did he have on? You know that it just needs a blue or red or green. So you then the next question is, do you remember whether he had spectacles on
or not?
He says yes or no. What color were they? He answers. So that's so you need to know.
But don't you think then that would be okay? I don't mean to piss on a whole profession, but if I'm going to, because if we have photographs that he was wearing spectacles, okay. If then he does not remember, that's where we catch them.
Yes.
To disqualify them and say that they do not deserve to be a witness in this particular case.
Yes.
Now I get it.
Yes.
Now I get it.
Also, Witnesses sometimes are called on to testify 5 years later. So these guys sometimes have bias. Especially if it's a parade and someone was to come and identify, they will be very biased. So you really need to know how certain are they that this is the person? Because the time is very serious. The sentence is very serious. You're putting someone's life at risk.
Yeah.
So you need to, those are the questions that you get to disqualify. And also the sight. Was the lighting good? How could you have told what color of spectacles he had on? Are you Superman? And all that. So
those are some of the qualities of a good lawyer.
A good lawyer, yes. They have to, and also be street smart, because
you must be able kujua vitu za Githurai na vitu zenye zimetoka Lavington.
Yes, vitu za Rodi na vitu za Karen.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know there is a lot about being street smart. Yeah, could you go a little bit deeper into that?
I think, okay, so street smartness is, a lawyer who is street smart is more like Harvey. You know Harvey. Harvey
knows where to cut the corners,
yes,
who to ask a deal for before it even goes to the court.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, he never used to go to court because he used to know how to deal
cut
with
the deals. Yeah.
Yeah, the street way. But then that street way is also important because, as I said to you, the law is an art, and we're dealing with human beings. You need to reach out to something more than the law sometimes to offer a solution. And you can't get to that if you're not alive to the street sense of things, or how things are being done in the street.
Now, say Alan has a case that I need litigated. What do I have to take me through the process of looking for a lawyer that is not going to let me out in the dark or let me out to dry, just because they are about them keeping their clean slate of not losing?
Is that a criminal or a civil case?
We could use a best of both.
Best of both. I think you just need to research. Everyone knows a lawyer, right? But sometimes people just end up having the wrong kind of lawyers because some lawyers are very key on, you have to pay my fees. Some lawyers are very keen on, I have to win this. So if you have a bad case, I won't take it. Some lawyers are keen on solving challenges.
Yeah.
So if you do not have a lawyer in mind, probably going to the internet, social media, but then that means you will end up with a very expensive lawyer. But I think there are very good lawyers out here. And we're in a dispensation where we have a lot of quacks running outfits.
Akina
Mwenda. And they would dupe you. You know, they say that he won 30 cases, but what caliber of cases were those? Were they small claims court cases? And I mean, it's a very blanket statement to say he won 30. You need to be keen, and a good lawyer, I think, for a person, I think if I were to advise you, your lawyer should be able to work with you so that, yes, you don't understand the law, but you understand where your case is going. You understand what strategy you're taking on. You're a partner in that process of attaining your justice. I think that's a good lawyer. But if you have a lawyer who keeps you in the dark. You have to call them every time for
Yeah.
them to tell you
The
where
progress.
the progress. And sometimes they cut deals, they negotiate, and they don't get back to you. I mean, your client ought to be the one to make the final decision. But some lawyers don't do that. They make the decision and then inform the client. By the way, that is an offense. And you could actually go to the Advocates Complaints Committee for
Yeah.
that. Yes.
But if they're well off, then it will be a sort of a drop in the ocean.
No, I think in terms, because, and we are going to get into that, I hope. When you make an accusation, you have to make good on it. So the evidence you present will determine the outcome, mostly. So sometimes people think that there's, foul play, but not always. It is just probably the evidence did not align with the facts of the case that you're providing.
Interesting. Why do you go out of a government job? Why do you go out of a paycheck that is steady? And like, hey, it's time to hit the road.
Okay, so I learned a lot at that job because, going in, or rather at law school, we didn't learn so much about governance and the law. But now I can confidently say I'm a governance law expert. I can be able to determine even what is happening in national government in terms of the budgeting process, the policy making process, especially on legislation, policy formulation, citizen engagement, and civic education aspects. I'm truly good at that. And these are not things that lawyers know, your average lawyers know. So and they have truly come in handy in my job right now. So it's a very good, I have really loved it. I learned a lot. And I think I reached the pinnacle of my career then. And other than getting a higher job group, I couldn't see what else would keep me there in terms of challenge and all that. So I decided to leave. It was a decision that I made. And also, I think there were other things at play as well. Yes. I also had to make a decision whether I wanted to pursue my career or just continue paper pushing.
So you aren't for the paper pushing. You're like, I need to be in action.
Yes, I wanted to do the real action now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then I would say that, or I would conclude that immediately after your government out of your government role, that's when you founded your first firm.
No, and yes.
No and okay. Tell us the no part and the yes part.
Okay, so no, yes, the first one.
Yeah.
No, the second one. The first farm and then the second one I was out of the government.
Yeah.
Yes.
So no for the first farm.
I was working for the government.
You're working for the government. So let us start there, and also building towards the separation with your partner. I know with government, some people who are able to be smart about it, they have a lot of time that they can manage, so they are able to do a bit of things on the side.
Yes.
So how were you managing that? And did you have did it ever occur to you that I might need to leave this job, so when I'm leaving I need somewhere to go? Or you like, I could make an extra coin out of my profession?
It was just laying foundation for when I was going to exit. Yes.
So you knew the exit was eventual.
Was imminent. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Many people when they go into government, they're like, mimi nimefika.
No.
Hapa ni hadi mwisho.
Well, if you want to make money, that's not. That's not the attitude to have.
But okay, from a political standpoint, people would definitely have a different perspective. But
Because of corruption.
and we're going to talk about corruption,
Yeah.
but from the side of the judiciary, because you might have a thing or two to say about that, and a particular flamboyant city lawyer probably might have a thing or two to say about him. But how do you let go something that you're very passionate about? Because I would term your first law firm as your first child, because this is something that you're very proud about doing. But then because of misunderstandings which come out in business all the time, you decide to say, okay, I leave that. I'm willing to let this go so that I can start on a clean slate. And many entrepreneurs, we hang on to businesses that are not working. But just because we are passionate about them, we are like, hey, I will eventually find a way to make this work. And these businesses die with us or they fail with us. How were you able to gather the strength and master the art of saying, hey, I have been digging and I've been trying to keep this alive, but I'm not keeping this alive anymore?
I think I think that is the easiest question you've asked me, because I've learned how to. I've lost. My parents, they split up.
Yeah.
Like, I know what loss is. So it wasn't new. And then when something that is not working, it's just not working. There's
Yeah.
nothing you can do to change a person's character. If it was something I could change, probably it would be different. But a person's character cannot. You can't change that.
Yeah.
And once you want, especially if you're keen on keeping your relationships, it is better to sever something and save that friendship rather than to continue in a path that would create one of your biggest enemies.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I am good at that. I am good at identifying something that is not working for me, and without any fear
Or hesitation.
or hesitation. Or even because I lost a lot of money, in millions. And that did not stop me. So I know, that's why I said I know my worth. I know what I can do. And I can't put in my blood, sweat, and effort
Yeah.
into a partnership which I cannot trust in. Because I am certain that I can make the money.
Yeah.
And I always say that as long as you have your life, as long as you have family, you're good to go. And God, you're good to go, because every other thing can be made. Money is lost and made. Yes.
Money is lost and made. Wow. You might be making me realize things that I might not be comfortable with.
Sure.
I totally agree with you that money can be lost and made, but when you're already at a particular place, it's sitting well with you that you have to, because you also spoke about it, that you are good in terms of knowing where you're at and adapting to that particular time that you are in. But falling from grace, my friend, sometimes isn't one of the easiest falls. And I appreciate it that you're giving background and you're saying that these are things that I have lost before, and this sat well with me because one else could have happened differently for you to be able to do that. And then that would mean that should people then find reasons for things to sit well with them, because there are people who aren't in your position or who aren't in my position, and removing your experiences from this whole situation, what would you advise somebody to do for them to walk out of that particular situation that you find yourself in?
Be real with yourself. Are you happy? Are you sure that your vision will be attained there? I'm sure you have goals and you have strategies and you have. Just look at yourself critically and answer that question honestly to yourself. Do you feel this is the outfit, this is the vehicle that will take you where you want to go? If the answer is no or maybe, you're on the wrong path.
Shuka.
You're on the wrong path. And it doesn't matter how long you hold on to it, especially when it depends on someone else, things you can't control.
Yeah.
So you need to also focus on that. Is it something I can change? Because like, if it's your own outfit, if it is my character, or my, lack of a certain skill, I can be able to get that skill and proceed. But if it is something you can't control, just walk out. The grace to grass thing, my father told me once something when I told him what will people say, and he told me, when the show is over, the crowd goes home. And I was like, wow.
When the show is over, the crowd goes home.
Yes, the crowd goes home. And you remain with your shit. So you need to find out whether you want to hold on to people mentality or to deal with your own stuff in a way that, will provide meaning for you. Will take you where you want to go. Will assist you to become something you're proud of. Because for me, I always sit back and look into my life and I say, are you happy about what Anne is doing? And I'm like, yes, I am. She's on the right track. But other times I'm like, no, you need to start making serious decisions. I'm not happy about what you're doing. And when that happens, then I need to change. So I think have those critical questions. I funny thing, like, it just came to my mind. I usually have some moments in my life where I tear apart my life completely. And that at those moments, even very meaningful friends to me, I could just drop them there and then. Because
isn't that drastic?
I don't know why I'm like, especially when the moon is full, I usually I become very introverted and somber, because I just I have to find a quiet space. Like if I hear the radio, the telly is, at the same time, I just have I switch everything off and I just want to be left alone with my thoughts. And, there are those friendships where you hold on to because these are my people. Like when I need to drink or when I need this, these are my people. But there's more to life than that. Are these people your people? Do they have your back? When you're in trouble, do they come? When you need something done and they can do it, do they do it? So sometimes we make emotional decisions, especially with our friends. And probably we encountered, maybe we saw the fireworks at some point together and that was a great bonding moment for us. But then beyond that, they say, undugu ni kufaana si kufanana. So if you can't be there for me, then you can't be in my inner circle. And I never make enemies. So I don't make them my enemies. It's just that that moment where I realize that this is the true person. This is who will walk this journey with me. This is who will wake me up and tell me you're going the wrong way. This is who will speak well of you at a board meeting and make you get a job somewhere. This is the person who you can confidently call a referee. So
akipigiwa simu atasema hata simjuangi huyo.
Exactly. And that is your person. And that's your person. So I think we need to understand if we have that, unaona vile elections ziko every other time. I think we need to also elect our friends. We need to think about our
We need to go through nominations as
governance
well.
systems.
Yeah.
Yes. How do you govern yourself as a person? Yes. And what makes you tick?
You know you're onto something, because I think not many people ever get to that point. And when you bring in the issue of governance, then probably people would need to do more introspection when it comes to the kind of people that they hold around themselves. And you know, I probably might not get into this conversation, but you said you're a mom, so I would allow me to assume that you are married, and then I'm wondering, okay, I could I could picture the type of process that you are in terms of nominating your better half, and now going to the elections and saying, now this is the final candidate, and yes, they have gotten the light to go forward. You say you shared that you've worked in government, and you hinted about corruption, and one of the things that has been going so much around the country is the attacks towards the judiciary. And in terms of one, the judiciary is corrupt, and the other side is in terms of our leaders not agreeing or respecting court orders. Let us start with the aspect of the judiciary being corrupt, and it is an allegation. As a lawyer, what do you make of this? And these are people who are looked up at highly in the field of law.
Okay. So, corruption is not a judiciary thing. It's a Kenyan thing.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a culture in Kenya. So much so that I told you I'm into legislative drafting.
Yeah.
So much so that it was once in a conversation somewhere that should we institutionalize corruption? Should we legalize some aspects about corruption? Because we're in this system of kitu kidogo. And that kitu kidogo, if you ask me, it's really not favoring Kenya. Because merit doesn't count. The truth does not count. And oftentimes, and that is why I was telling you at some point that I got into the work I do, because the law criminalizes poverty. So what does that tell you about a person who can't afford a bribe? Who can't afford
They will be
bond?
guilty.
Yeah. Who can't afford bond or bail, and they can't also afford a bribe or a lawyer, barrister, the 3 Bs. That means this person...
Bond, bribe, barrister.
Yes. That means this person he's gone. I mean, he's lost into that system. And it's a rat race. It's a rat race, because if you get out, you still get in because you're poor. Unless you get out and uomoke. But, and I have this case where I was assisting. So we have a project where we do what we call the resentencing project. We help people who already have sentences go back into court for lenient sentences. Most of them had lawyers. We call them pro bono lawyers. People mistake pro bono for free. It's not free. Pro bono lawyers are paid by the government. And they assist people facing capital offenses. And they're paid 30,000 per file. But right now, we are having talks where it will be 30,000 per person. And you find this pro bono lawyer did not put in their A game, protecting the interests of their client. And their client ends up getting, sometimes you have a client who did the crime, but you can help them get a lenient sentence. So that is, the role of a lawyer does not end at at that conviction stage, where like right now we have Joey, he has been convicted.
Yeah.
But a new hearing ought to commence now for mitigation. Mitigation, why? Because now he's getting into the sentencing stage. Let us look at whether he's a father, what he does, how, let us look at his childhood. Those are now the mitigating factors. But most lawyers don't know that. And you find most of the people facing jail time have very strict and stiff sentences. So these three ladies I'm assisting, they were on life. They were on death penalty. They got on life. They got commuted to life, and then I was helping them to get a lenient sentence, a term sentence, and I got 30 years, and I was very happy because it's a murder case, and we talked at length. I went to them and I'm like, listen, this is what the court decided. You will do 30 years.
Yeah.
And they've already served 12.
So that meant that they only had 18 left.
Yeah, and so jail term is not counted as per our years. There's a remission that has to be deducted, and also they skip the weekends. So it's
Monday
it's
to
shorter.
Friday.
It's shorter. So
Well, sorry if this might take you off your thought trail. This is why court is never in session on. This is why you never want to find somebody arrested on a Friday. They will have to spend the entire weekend up until the next week on Monday.
yes.
Oh,
And if it's a holiday, like if you are arrested on Friday and Monday is a holiday, so until
it has to be Tuesday. All right.
And it's even worse during the December holidays or
Yeah, you have to wait
the
up
Easter.
until January.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, these three ladies. So I went to talk to them. I usually visit my clients even when I'm done. And when we were talking, that day I was just like, okay, just talk to me. Why did you kill this guy? I was shocked. All along, even when we were preparing for the case and all that, they never told me they didn't do the crime. So I was like, okay, so when I gave you the 30-year determination,
What?
why were you, happy about that? They're like, because there's nothing we can do. You're even here, we didn't call you. You're assisting us.
Yeah.
God has sent you to us. Like, we don't know. The poor are, I don't know. I think it's destitution to a level where they can't even advocate for themselves. Because he is a person who is willing to help them. And they go along with the storyline of the state. And they don't tell you that our story is that we are innocent. This evidence was fabricated against us. Someone bribed. So that is why I'm telling that story. Someone bribed the police. Someone bribed their way through the investigation process until these women were fixed for that murder. And it's a mother and her daughter-in-law. So it's a very sad situation what, corruption does to us as Kenya. Any building that you see crumbling and falling down, that's corruption. Any hospital where you find someone is just dying for no apparent reason, you can be certain that there's corruption there. So I think there needs to be a way out of this corrupt system. I don't know, maybe we need to institutionalize it, or I don't know. But yeah, I wouldn't dispute the fact that some courts are corrupt because they're Kenyan courts.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is a long shot to institutionalize corruption,
Yes.
Wow. Our leaders disrespecting court orders. Are there any repercussions? Yeah, we understand constitutionally it's not right, but from a lawyer point of view, does it hold any weight?
What does what hold any weight?
You serve me a court order and I refuse to abide as the court order says.
Okay, so courts are constitutional bodies. I am a defender of the law.
Yeah.
And its processes. I believe that every court order ought to be obeyed.
Obeyed, yeah.
There are ways where you can go and overturn those orders if you're not agreeable.
Yeah.
But the the rule of thumb is that every court order ought to be obeyed, and if not, then you can go and appeal. But there is no room for going against it unless it's a very draconian law and you have exhausted the legal process completely. Then you have a duty as a human being to take up another role, which is now civil disobedience, where you will disobey that order because at the core of your being, you believe that your constitutional rights are not being, adhered to. And this happens in draconian states where you have dispensations where crazy laws are put into place. Like I heard the other day, I don't know whether it's true that in Hamas or, yeah, I think it is in Hamas or in the other state, you can't collect rainwater. That calls for civil disobedience.
Yeah.
But at the core of it, court orders ought to be obeyed. Yes.
We now move into the second law firm. I believe this comes after your trip to the United States and also after the trip that you made to the Eldoret prison. What exactly, to somebody who might be to somebody who would now, they have gotten the background of who Anne is, and now make us understand why now transit into this type of practice where you say, okay, yes, I know they are criminals, I know they are murderers, but we also need to give them an extra listening ear. Why do what you do? Okay,
so the law practice is different from the social entrepreneur outfit.
Yeah.
So
there is a law firm
yes.
that you do your day-to-day work,
yes,
but also there is the social enterprise aspect
yes.
to it.
Yes.
All right.
So it's called Odwor, Munywa and Gerald,
all right.
Attorneys at Law.
Yeah. That is your law firm.
That's my law firm.
Yeah.
It happened by chance because I had my own law firm. I was doing my own things. And then my partner, Odwor, we went to school together and we worked at a law firm together.
Yeah.
And we used to fantasize, I would call fantasies, about a law firm, an outfit of a law firm that you're going to come up with and how good it was going to be and how the standards, like suits,
you're going to kick ass.
Kick ass.
Yeah.
So he calls me and he's like, Munywa, I heard you have a law firm and you do good work and all that, and I want us to partner. And I was like, yes, I remember those we used to talk about. Actually, the other partner, we used to talk about having a law firm with this partner, Odwor, and now me.
Yeah.
We used to fantasize about that. But now, and I'd even left that aside because this first did not work.
Yeah.
So when he called me, I was like, interesting. But then I've been burnt. So
actually, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
How do you put that behind you? And I have a bad joke.
Yeah.
It's like it's like going out of a relationship with a Luo person, or with the person who is Luo, and then go into another relationship with a Luo.
Because character. I told you character.
Character is everything.
Is everything. So this partner is good. He is, a partnership is 100% based on trust. There's no way about it. It's just trust. There's nothing else. Actually, the whole, even business, is trust. We trust that paper money is valuable. And that's why we carry around fiat money, thinking that it's valuable, money. Yet it's not. It's paper.
Yeah.
So trust is a very key commodity in business. And if you lose that trust, I'm telling you, go home. Go, just find trust in any transaction. If you're buying a car, is there trust? If it is there.
If you're buying land.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Odori is very trustworthy. He is those partners who will walk the talk. We see eye to eye. Sometimes we don't walk arm to arm, but we see eye to eye. And often we walk arm to arm. Everything we do, myself, I explain to him, vice versa. To the coin, to the cents. He will tell me, I deposited this money. Have you seen some deposit? This is what it was for. I got some money, from the bank, and this is where it went into. And that has made work very easy. Because now you become very much invested in finding work, finding business, finding more deals. Because you have a partner who is working with you, who has the same vision, the same mission, the same core values.
Yeah.
And he is my husband at work, in the sense that accountability is very much present. He will tell me when I'm messing. He will return me back to track. He will tell me where we're going wrong. He will tell me when you need to sit down and speak or converse on an issue, which is something that I think propels the law firm. And then we share the love for criminal law and litigation.
Yeah.
So in that way, he is the chairperson for legal support work. The enterprise, it has legal support work, and he chairs that. And he's also the chairperson of the board of trustees. Basically because he's very trustworthy and his passion is in the right place in terms of where Seltzer is going at. He really has that at heart. He buys into the passion that I have.
Yeah.
In fact, the other day he was just telling some people, we had some training, and he was telling them that I used to speak with Anne about, doing something of a similar fashion, and I used to think that she's just speaking,
for the sake of
for
speaking.
the sake of speaking, or
Yeah.
she's on some
Steroids.
yes. But now I can see it coming together. And he really gave a very moving speech, because for me it really returned me back into those moments where, again, for the law firm, we had dreams that are becoming real. And then now
Dreams
for this,
in motion.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And now for this social enterprise,
Yeah.
again, I shared with him some things which he thought were, just idealistic thoughts, but now are becoming real, and he is part of that. He's my witness. So I think that is very key. He's a very key player in my business work. Yeah, my business and social enterprise work.
Yeah. Interesting. What are some of the key things? But even before we talk about that, there is something that you touched base on, and I think it is very important that you share with our viewers how to look out when your lawyer is not paying or not doing a good job, and also some of the key things that you must do as a person who might find themselves in a legal situation, for you to make sure that you get justice served. And I'll just remind you so that you can take it up. It was along the lines of not only relying on what the government's investigator is doing, but also if you have the resources, you could also hire a private investigator, so that there is that cross-checking. And also there is something that you said, probably if a police officer watches this, they might not be really, really excited about that, but you're talking along the lines of even the person who arrives on the scene for the very first time, they might either make or break the case that you might find yourself in. So from a person who might be in that legal situation, how do I make sure that I get justice properly served?
I think that's a very key question
Yeah.
because I think from the onwards or from the get-go, what is your strategy? I think it needs to come out clearly because the court is not a child. It's a human being who is, who is skilled at what they do. So you can't just come out by saying, I have an alibi, and then suddenly you have another defense line. You need to have a good strategy from the word go, even before you start the case. So it goes back into what we talked about. Is your lawyer walking the journey with you?
Yeah.
For me, I really believe my clients are a critical partner in my winning, whether I can win a case or not, because it is happening to them. They could be the ones who would tell me, I did it. And it's better if a client tells you that, because then you can now focus on how you can protect them. Not from the fact that they did it, but even at that level of the sentencing, all right? So sometimes you could even talk to them, okay, so if you did it, would you be open to a plea bargain?
Instead of cutting a deal behind their back.
Yeah, instead of waiting it out and getting a 30-year sentence, why can't we just talk to the state? We enter into a bargain where you will get an 8-year term. Serve the time because you did the crime, all right? So sometimes you need to walk, and you can't be able to do this if you're not in touch with your client. On the issue of investigation, we talked about, the first responders. When you get to a crime scene, you're supposed to protect the integrity of a crime scene. That means you need to even put on protective gear when you're getting in, like paper and all that, gloves. You need to take pictures. You need to ensure that no one touches anything in the crime scene. No one moves out with anything. But you find that our police, when they get there, if there's a bottle there lying of gin, they will drink water. There's a lot of lack of integrity and laxity in terms of our investigation. So my advice, especially for people who are facing serious time, if you have the resources, it would be prudent to get a private investigator. And a private investigator cannot help you if you don't do it immediately. So you need to do it before things, get out of hand. Yeah. So that you have your storyline. I have a client who, it's an active case, but I will just mention it in passing. She is a police person, and because of GBV-related issues, she shot her husband severally to get away from him. But now the problem is, the defense line she wants us to take is that she was fleeing from this man. But when you read the report, the investigation report, especially the ballistics, and even from the post-mortem, the exit wounds were at the back. All right? So this is not the exit wounds were from the front. So this is a person who was fleeing from her. Or rather, she shot him at the back. So I told her, we need to change tactic. We can't go with this strategy you're proposing because it will not hold any water. No one, if they bring any evidence to the contrary, then you will start scrambling for another strategy, and we don't want that. So I think getting into the strategy from the word go is a very key thing.
Yeah.
And we need to, I think for any person who is keen and interested in getting justice, because people always focus on the victim. Even the accused, even the perpetrator, they need justice. So if you need that justice, then you need to be able to have a strategy from the get-go that is very sensible, that cannot change, that is, the smart strategy, which is going to stand the test of time. And I think that is key. Probably I need to add, you asked me whether, so I'm not married.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not married.
Okay.
And I love the fact that you asked me whether I did some nomination or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't think so. I think settling on a partner is quite hard for a lawyer.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Or maybe a woman who is quite very grounded in themselves and are making some strides in
their career.
And it's quite hard. It's not like for a man.
Yeah.
For a lady, it's quite hard. Yeah.
Okay.
My son, it was an assisted pregnancy. Yes.
All right. So this is a deliberate choice that you decided.
Yes.
Oh, all right. We are slowly coming to the end of our conversation, and this is where you talk to us a little bit more about Celsa and the visions that you have for your social enterprise and your organization.
Okay, so our vision, I think the ultimate goal is to end recidivism.
That is a lot of jargon.
Oh, sorry. It just means reoffending.
Yeah.
It just means going back to crime. Getting back, that rat race you were talking about.
Yeah.
So we really hope that is going, actually that is, and it's a very systemic thing that is not a Kenyan thing. In the US, it's a thing. It's a thing everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's being propagated by your everyday situation where we have homes without fathers, where we have poverty. So these are things that propagate, or rather advance people into making a crime-related choice.
Yeah.
So another thing is to have safer communities. We could have safer communities if we have people making meaningful use of themselves. So at the core of what we do is not just about helping inmates walk and all that. We also want them to become self-sufficient and also foster an ability in them to be able to live law-abiding lives. And that cannot be possible if you're exiting the prison system and you do not have food. You do not have a home you're going into. Prisoners do a lot of work, but they don't get paid for that.
Yeah.
The Kenyan system doesn't care. But let me tell you, your average citizen should care. Because you spend a lot of money in your budget, you should go and interact with your budget. Look at how much you spend just over imprisoning people. People who ought not to be in prisons are in prisons. People who have, been found loitering and are drunk are being fed. Do you know one meal time in a prison could be around just lunchtime? Talking about lunch, could be around 100K or more.
100,000.
Yes, just one sitting in one prison. We are over-imprisoning our people. This money could be redirected to provide means for... And actually, even our education system does not help. Our children are being taught to cram. We are taught to cram and pass exams. But we don't understand. We are not taught how to be self-sufficient, how to think about how to become job creators. We are taught more about becoming job seekers. And Kenya We have a lot of unemployed people. But it doesn't mean that these unemployed people cannot employ others. It is just that there is no know-how. We have not cultivated that enablement in people to be able to be aware that they can be able to create jobs. And in fact, a good exit plan for Kenya recently has been to export our human resource, which is unfair because we have a lot of brilliant minds in Kenya. If only we could redirect that back into our society. We have a lot that can be done. So most of what we are doing is where I'm getting into, is to help people get a socio-economic enablement or empowerment so that we help them to live dignified lives. Let me tell you, most of these people end up in crime because they were living undignified lives. And they were like, I have to stop living like this. I have to do something about this. And that is how they ended up doing something that got them into conflict with the law. So it's about, they are victims, really, if you look at it keenly. So another vision for us is to provide access to justice. To assist women, or rather, let me not use women, let me use a gender-sensitive word. Primary caregivers. We actually give priority to primary caregivers because if you have a woman in jail, that means their children are destitute somewhere. And you will find a child at 15 getting pregnant. And this child needs to eat. What do you think they will do? So that's why it's a rat race. And it's a big war that we have to win. And actually we need more partners in this, because, and in terms of even, people you would deem as competitors, but also partners in the form of donors, because it's great work. Just even that issue of fathering, that men are not being keen fathers. And that has become a major blow to the boy child. Look at the boy child today. My peers, men, my peers, they want to live off of you. Right? They don't want to work. You bring in the money, you're doing well, so why do I need to work? And it's a very off-putting thing. And if you look at it keenly, you will find that they were not taught that they need to go out and work. Why? Because that father figure was not there. So I think this is a conversation that needs, we need more players in this. We also are keen on ending the death penalty. And this is because the death penalty is very inhuman. It's a very inhuman way of punishing a person, because even if you read it in our laws, you say that you will be hanged until death. So this hangman, if you are, for example, to apply for the job of a hangman, you need to stand there and watch this person kick and gag and, until they die. And then you can be able to bring them down for the rope and dispose of them however way you want to do that. But then that's the one way that you would look at the death penalty. There's the other death penalty, which is, in my opinion, the life sentence. Life sentence in Kenya is a de facto death penalty, because that means the only way you can get out of the prison system is in a body bag. So it's also, we don't recognize it as a death penalty, but it is. The death penalty is not an African thing. Africans never did that. If you look at our ancestors, the worst of crimes were not punished that way.
For most, you would be banished out of the village.
Exactly. Our people have ways of reconciling. And it is beautiful how our tradition has these reconciliatory measures for such cases where there is a reparation process where money or something of value is exchanged for the victim's family. And also there is going to be punishment. And there's going to be libations where there is not going to be any bad blood between the both parties. So we are also keen on doing that. And we also are keen on doing civic education and also citizen engagement to just bring in, you know, all these aspects, even on this death penalty issue, even on just enlightening them on the over imprisonment, over policing, over punishment. That needs to be said to the people. And if they don't know that, they will not understand that so much of their budget is going into feeding a person who need not be in prison. So we do that, and we also do capacity building and training as well.
At the end of the day, all these visions have been put together.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, what kind of country would you like to see? What kind of legal system would you like to see for Kenya as a country?
Okay, a system where human rights and basic human dignity is observed, and the victim is very much in my heart. So I don't just defend the perpetrator. In fact, most of my work is engaging victims, finding if they can forgive, or if they can't forgive, whether, you know, they can just allow the legal system to just take its course without any hard feelings. Some are like, okay, I can't forgive, but it's okay if the court decides that they can get 30 years. That's good enough. But getting the victim to speak up is very important. We also have been trying to get some alternative justice systems where we try to divert cases. If there can be a bargain that can be struck between the victim and the perpetrator.
Yeah.
And actually it works. There was this case in Nairobi here where it was a very fired up case between two factions of the same tribe, but different religious backgrounds
Yeah.
or poolings, Christian and Muslim.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. I'm sure it has rung a bell. They used the diversion tactic, and they are now a very peaceful society. No one went to jail. No one went through the legal system, and they're living together as one. So sometimes the law does not just need to be, you know, to create an enemy or a nemesis to fight. The law also needs to embrace oneness and continuity, and also empowerment of this everyone involved. So alternative justice systems are very much at play right now. And unfortunately, we've been having interruptions, especially, and I wouldn't want you to end this topic without us talking about sexual offenses. But before we get there, we've been having a lot of cases where people have been advised to drop cases, especially on GBV cases.
Yeah.
And then they end up killing their spouses. So sometimes that interference, you know, when something is not working, just let it be. Let them, if this husband and wife are telling you, mi ndio nakaa hapo ndani and I can't deal with this man, allow waachane. If they never get back together, that's them. Good. But do not force them as family to go back. If you're a father, accept your daughter. It doesn't, as I said, the crowd will go home. Let them say what they must, but at the end of the day, they will go home. You remain with your daughter, hajakuja in a coffin. But if you insist that they stay in that situationship and they continue being beat up, and by the way, we have found almost 80%, actually a higher number. In Eldoret at some point, it was about 93% of women capital remandees. Capital, that means murder.
Yeah.
Were GBV related. And just a woman telling you, man, this man was going to kill my daughter. And I just hate him. And he went to sleep. In the morning, I was taking tea to him and he was gone. And that's it. Another story, same thing. He was hitting me so hard I thought I would die. I saw something next to me and I struck him.
Yeah.
And that's how he went. So GBV has really contributed to a high number of women being in the capital remandees section. So I think it would be of interest for Kenyans to really know such facts, because then it would change their eyes. You know, when someone tells you someone is a murderer, people think that murder is something, you know, like that lady who was chopped up.
Yeah.
Murder, anyone can murder, even you are a prime, you know, you could be a potential murderer. I would be a potential, because it just depends on the circumstance. What has, like, if it's someone you truly care about that is facing danger, or even you could do something not intending to kill, but that if that person dies, you will face the capital charge, and then you will need a lawyer. I tell you, you will need to call Anne, and then you won't look at her as this woman who, you know, protects murderers. You will look at her as my savior, and everyone needs one.
Given that you brought in the story, the issue of gender-based violence, we often give people an opportunity on this platform to ask, to say something that I might not have asked them.
Yeah.
And what might that be that I feel you need to touch base before we call it around?
Okay, so I think on GBV we've really covered it very well.
Yeah.
But basically, people should just know that GBV is not just a physical harm. It's also emotional harm. It's economic harm. It's living with the man who wants to live off of you, wants you to register his name into your title or what you bought. Those are part of GBV.
Yeah.
And so just knowing that and being able to find help is important. What we need to talk about as a nation, actually, is the Sexual Offences Act. I am a woman. I am a mother to a son. We have this act in Kenya where a lot of our boys are getting into the criminal, or rather are getting into conflict with the law because of this Sexual Offences Act. You find a guy who is 18 years old, has a girlfriend who is 16, age group, right? And then they end up having intimate relationship. So this guy will end up in the prison, and this lady will be told, oh, give birth, go back to school. Is that fair? But it's happening. And there's this guy who is finishing his 7-year prison term, and the wife, because she is his wife, she went back home to his home where she lives up to date. And he's like, I'll finish my sentence and we'll go back and have our family. So this law is truly unfair to the boy child. And it's a great wonder because the parliament is filled with men. How could they let such a law, get out there? It's unfortunate that we have a lot of our men serving time, such terrible time, and we call them Romeo and Juliet cases, because this is true love. This is love. These are people who, in the heat of passionate moments, they're like, I love you. You will be my wife. You are my husband. And then their parent is like, no. And sometimes they do, and they do that because they want to be paid off by the boy's family. And some even get paid off and still allow that boy to. They don't, pull out the cases. So it's really unfair. The Sexual Offences Act. It is now, in terms of statistics, we are doing a lot of cases. A lot, like in the Eldoret station, it's about 80% of the criminal work. So you can imagine that is very unfortunate. I mean, we need to rein in on this issue, find a solution. I don't think, and that's why I say that not everyone who is in prison needs to be in prison. we need to find a way to help the boy child. This Sexual Offences Act is not fair to the boy child. And actually, if I were their lawyer, I would ask them to sue the girl as well, because she has also defiled the boy, especially if he's underage. Because sometimes you find that it's a 17 and a 15-year-old. So if I am getting the time, then also your daughter defiled me. So I think, but it's not a fair play. But you can see why it's unfair, that it is the boy who is bearing the brunt and the girl is, being assisted to just move on with their lives and become empowered and pursue their education while the boy child is in prison, eating prison food.
It's a lot, yeah. This one has been a totally different one.
Yeah.
And I think it comes at a very interesting time, because there's been a rise in cases of homicides, femicides, gender-based violence. And I think whoever will watch this, they'll be able to probably think twice before they do what they are thinking about doing, or they would be able to know, if they've already done it, they would know what they need to do to sort of argue and get themselves out of the situation that they might find themselves in,
Yeah.
or even plead guilty and
Yes.
have a lesser sentencing, rather than go through the entire process, the court fees, lawyer fees, and at the end you still served a verdict
time.
that might be basically your entire life, or life imprisonment. You've basically called it a death, a death penalty. So thank you very much for making the time,
Thank you so much for having me.
and we hope to probably, as time progresses, you might have extra things to talk about.
Sure.
So you definitely keep it open for
Thank
us
you.
to have that conversation.
Thank you so much.